on YouTube. What is up? Get ready to get Instagram to hop on here. Hope everyone's doing well. All right, YouTube, Instagram, what is going on? I am here to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Can't always promise that I'll have a complete and thorough answer for you in this type of a situation with the Q&A, but I'll do my very best. And like I said, I'll do my best to help you out. So I just got done getting a massage, feeling good. That's why my face is a little flushed. My hair might be just a little bit messy. Joel, what's going on? So training is back into kind of not full force like it as if I were powerlifting. Joel, what's going on? Testing, testing. Hello, hello. All right. Get my mic on. Sorry about that. YouTube, can you hear me okay out there? Please go ahead and start tossing in your questions if you have them. And same thing with Instagram. Whatever questions you have, send them over. Nice one, bro. Nice what? So YouTube, how am I sounding? What's going on? So training's kind of cranking back up, and we've had a good group lately with the training. What's up? What's up? Sounds perfect. Good, good, good. All right, got the questions coming in. I can't always answer your question. I might need to do a consult with you or talk to you more or refer you to someone else. But I can't just give you a question or an answer half-assed and do you more harm than good. But topics and stuff that we can talk about here, no problem doing that. But whenever the questions start to become more in depth, then we're going to have a discussion about that. So we got a couple questions here on YouTube coming pretty much right away. And then Instagram, feel free to answer your question or ask your questions. I got my lumbar support here on the chair. I highly recommend if you sit a lot, get the lumbar back support. If you drive a lot or if you're sitting intolerant, you don't do well with sitting for periods of time, get the lumbar support. You can get one for your car. You can also get one for your desk chair. And I just pump mine up a little bit and get a little bit of support there. My back doesn't hurt, thankfully, ever, but I like to have that support when I'm sitting. Sometimes I sit for long periods of time. So the first question is, hi, Brian. Did you avoid sitting in the beginning of working with Stu? How long did you sit and what intervals? Did you avoid birthdays and gatherings? Well, I did have to be selfish from time to time and not go places that I knew would potentially set me off. So, for instance, standing for long periods of time. I just mixed up my sitting and standing. I didn't have intervals written down for how long I could sit at a time. So you're going to need – what's up, Derek? How's it going, man? Derek doing some big things here in the coming weeks, months, years in multiply powerlifting. So I can't give you a formula because I don't know what it was, but I didn't sit into pain. I didn't stand into pain. I didn't move into pain. I just let it settle for a bit. So you're going to have to find these out for yourself. Sometimes you're going to need to avoid birthdays and gatherings and such. But if you can mix your walking, sitting, standing, laying, potentially you could still go to them. But again, everyone's going to be so different. So again, you got to build your capacity, and it takes time. Do you ever feel a mild discomfort in my low back when sitting or maybe after workout? I don't have any back pain. My back doesn't bother me. My hips will get tight on me sometimes, but my back hasn't bothered me in a long, long time, 7.5 years or something like that. But remember, I'm always doing the things that I need to do. I'm moving well. I do my core work every day. I walk every day. I do all the things that I need to do. So thankfully, I don't have back pain. So Instagram, do you have any questions? It's kind of slow going so far with the questions. YouTube. So no, I don't have back pain. I've just been able to manage my triggers really well when I did have them and build my capacity. And I don't do things that I think would be bad for me. I don't bend much. I keep a neutral spine with everything that I'm doing. So it goes a long way. Being cognizant of my movement was the biggest thing that helped me, as you read about in Gift of Injury right there. It's the biggest thing that helped wind my pain down was removing the causes, backed off lifting, moved better, did specific core exercises that didn't pick the scab of my injury. You know the name of the game. Training's been going well with the guys. We are kind of picking up. Unfortunately, it's going to drop off a little bit when the holidays come around with Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, unfortunately. But right now, training is going good with the guys, and I'm enjoying it. I'm working on getting back in better shape, building my pecs back out, building my shoulders and my bicep, the one I tore off last year. So to be honest with you, I haven't been training all that hard for the last year. I've enjoyed the downtime of not having to train all the time and always getting ready for something and pushing towards something. So it's been nice, but now it's time to kind of get back on track and start pushing harder. No problem. Thanks for the inspiration. How do I stay motivated every day? Well, it's about my health. So I need to stay motivated to move well and to continue to train so I don't become unhealthy and I don't start to ache and hurt, because I know that as soon as I stop training, the aches and pains are going to start setting in from all the years of lifting. So I stay active and keep the joints lubed up, if you will. Let's see. You got a few more questions. So Instagram, keep bringing them in, and I'm going to go over to YouTube now and answer a couple questions. Does your MRI now look bad although you don't have pain? The MRI is in Gift of Injury. You can see the before and after. It looks a lot better. It's not completely healed up, but a lot of the things that were damaged in the first MRI, 2013 compared to 2017, you can see the difference in Gift of Injury. So it doesn't. Some people's MRIs are gonna look a lot better, like mine, and other people's they'll stay the same. They'll still look very tore up, bad, and they don't have any pain, so you don't treat them if they don't have any pain. So, yeah, sometimes it'll heal up. Sometimes it'll show itself to be clean looking on the MRI or better, or the disc remodel, like in my case, or it looks bad, but you don't have any pain. So I'm doing the big 3 exercises for a couple weeks now, and I noticed that I have problems avoiding my pain triggers when I do them. Should I let go of them for some time to let it desensitize? Yes. First of all, make sure you're doing them correctly. You can always do regressions. You can do regressions of the big 3 outlined in Gift of Injury and Back Mechanic. Also, if you check my YouTube, I have some regressions and progressions for the big 3. So sometimes doing none of the big 3 or just pushing a leg back with the bird dog or wall planking, these different regressions that we have depending on your triggers can be optimal for you if you're really wound up. You don't want to be picking the scab while you're doing these exercises. So let the pain wind down. Sometimes people aren't ready to start doing these exercises yet. So yes, let it wind down. During the deload, I've changed beam movement for squats to belt squats and floor press for bench. Do I have any suggestions for beam movement on deadlift day that purposely give my back a rest? You can always just not deadlift on that day. Just don't deadlift. Do some kettlebell deadlifts, meaning hold a kettlebell on each arm or a hand, or just lock in one side and do a suitcase type deadlift with the arm that's down and one arm that's locked in, or you can do one in each hand to do suitcase deadlifts, or you can just avoid deadlifting at all during that time. It really just depends on where you are in training, where you're trying to go, how proficient you are at the deadlift. If you have a meet coming up, it's going to be different for people. The purpose is to give the back the rest. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You can change up something like that. Experiment with it a little bit and see what works for you. Hi, Brian. How much time do you work in gym daily during my rehab? Well, it just depends on where you are in your rehab. That's a very broad question. Some people might only spend 15 minutes in the gym doing their exercises, 10-minute walks at a time, of course, is above and beyond that. And then, it just depends. But remember, there's 168 hours in a week. You should move well to desensitize your spine. If you do have triggers in your daily movement, to remove them and let it stabilize, and then get back to going in the gym more and more. But you've got to let the pain triggers wind down. And that takes time to do. Everyone's going to be different. One of the most frequently asked questions that I get, how long until my pain goes away? Well, sometimes it takes not very long. Sometimes it takes a very long time. Sometimes people don't ever quite get it wound down. And that's just that's the reality of it. A lot of the time you can get it wound down, but sometimes there's no guarantee that you can get it wound down. So that can be scary for people, but the more that you can control yourself, moving well, giving yourself proper rest periods and training periods, and of course a little bit of luck. Luck goes a long way with that. There's going to be a lot of variables there you have to keep in mind. It isn't just about training a lot or training a little. There's a lot of different things that you have to look at. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is your genetics and your luck. Program adherence comes into, but man, your genetics play a huge part, and how you respond to things and what your ability is. So we don't have too many questions today. Instagram, if you have questions, go ahead and fire them off to me. YouTube, if you have questions, fire them off to me. Otherwise, I'm going to hop off here in a little bit. I like doing these as long as we have a response and questions. George says, thank you for all your work. I'm so lucky I found you in my early 20s. You're welcome. Some of this stuff is kind of boring. The stay ahead of the fatigue curve and not overtraining and using good form. It's kind of boring, to be honest with you. But it's not as boring as having to take time off from lifting because you're hurt. So that's one thing to consider. It sucks to have to take time off from lifting. I've been there multiple times. And when you have a jacked up back, it's a hard time for people. So it's best, our ultimate goal with gift of injury is to help you avoid the pitfalls that I had. But ideally, you can see that if I can come back and squat big weights and lift big weights and competition again without pain, you can get back to picking your baby up out of the crib. You can get back to moving without pain day to day. You can get back to doing CrossFit if that's what you want to do, potentially modified maybe. So anyway, gift of injury tells the tale of me getting back to lifting, but it goes through the tenets of back mechanic. You can see them applied in gift of injury. Okay. Hi, Brian. With the disc bulge hernia, is there a scale of what is worse or better? For instance, is numbness preferable to pain? No, every injury is different. So no, I wouldn't necessarily pick one or the other. It depends on a lot of variables there. Can you tell which was the most complicated or difficult injury you've treated? Anyone with annular tears and open fissures are difficult because their movement is going to really, really influence how much healing they have. If they have micro movements and movement, it's going to be hard for that annulus to heal up. And it takes a long time. It can be a year and a half or longer for it to heal up. So those are really difficult too, but there can be endless amount of complications with an injury, unfortunately. They're all different symptoms depending on the injury. That's the thing. It just depends. Do you have or had any patients with back injuries that are in their late teens? Yes, I've worked with people in their early 20s and late teens, people that had back injuries going back to middle school and high school, and they're still working on beating it. And they come to me, and I, give them my thoughts, give them an assessment, give them tips, and there's people really young that have back problems for sure. From my own training, what exercises gave you good results in the deadlift? Block pulls are good. Block pulls from different heights, rack pulls, making sure you're working your upper back properly, pull-ups, barbell rows, shrugs. You can't really go wrong with those at all. And just doing those consistently with good form, those are good deadlift builders. Having a core of iron, that's a big thing. Making sure you train your core from every angle, anterior, lateral, posterior, 360 degrees. You want to train that core and be rigid and resilient. What do you think is the most common injuries during the deadlift? Like a disc bulge probably could be a common injury during the deadlift. Bending under load, too much compression, too much training frequency and intensity, not enough rest. There could be a bunch of things. But disc bulge, L5, S1, L4, L5 is pretty common. And sometimes people have them and don't even have pain. And it takes a while for them to actually have pain. Let's see. We got more questions here. Hi, I have a disc bulge in my T6, T7 that causes horrible pain. What would you recommend for exercise or just to get out of pain? I've had it for over a year with hardly any relief. Thank you. We got to do an assessment. I can't just give you directions over video Q&A like this. So your T-spine, you have a disc bulge there. We need to talk about everything that's going on with that and what causes you pain, what makes things feel better. So if you want to reach out to me at brian@powerlifting.com, we could talk about it, but I can't give you a program just over video like this without doing a thorough assessment. I've thought about booking a 30-minute session like every third or fourth months for reviewing my programming and get some suggestions for actions to move forward. Does that sound like a good idea? It could be. Yeah, I can give you my thoughts, but 30 minutes is going to go very quick. And if we're covering 3 or 4 months of training, I'm not sure how much we'll be able to cover and get accomplished during that time, but I'll do my very best for you. So the 30 minutes reviewing programming and get some suggestions and actions and stuff is a lot. That's a lot to do in 30 minutes time. So maybe you can narrow down what I help you with, maybe look at your form a little bit and then book another one for programming potentially, but that's a lot to try to accomplish in 30 minutes, but I'll do my very best for you. Let's see. If the big 3 exercises exacerbate the symptoms of an injury, should you avoid these entirely until you're symptomless or until they only cause very short flare-ups and no worsening the next day? If they cause you pain, I would avoid them. If it's a little bit of discomfort, potentially you could do them, but we need to do a consult or an assessment so I can know exactly what your symptoms are. Chances are you're not doing the exercise completely correct. That could be part of it. Even the people that watch the videos, they might still have their leg too high in there on the bird dog or not pushing the earth away, not having their core locked in. The way they get on and off the floor could be an issue. There's a lot of things that you have to look at. And that's why just answering your question, I would need to know particulars and watch you for myself. But again, if they exacerbate your symptoms, you need to avoid them, most likely. Do you just have to accept the fact that heavy lifting will damage your joints over time? If you lift heavy enough, for sure. If you play, you're going to pay eventually. Now, some people will just have minor aches and pains. Other people will have to have joint replacements, unfortunately. And we know, I'm sure everyone out there knows people on both sides, people that have survived lifting and they're not so beat up. And other people have gotten their shoulders and their knees and their hips replaced. So some wisdom from gift of injury is people that train either not hard enough or too hard generally are getting the joint replacements is what Dr. McGill's little words of wisdom after section 2, that's what he discussed. Next question. Let's see. We got. Do you think any relationship between disc bulge and knee pain or looseness? It could be, but you need an assessment to be able to see if there's a correlation there between the two, or causation, or whatever it may be. What other questions do we have? A disc herniation and an open fissure is not the same thing. Do a little bit of research to see the difference. And yeah, let's see. Open fissure is actually a hole in the annulus where it can go out and retract back in depending on the movement. So it's a little bit different. Can't wait to read your book. Gift of Injury, just start with back mechanic. Sounds good. You'll be able to see where back mechanic is utilized in Gift of Injury, and you can see the steps going through Gift of Injury as outlined in back mechanic, but just with my story intertwined in it. What else do we have? Have I had any other significant injuries other than my back? Well, I've banged up my shoulders quite a bit over the years, some tears, labrum tears. I avulsed my bicep off last year. You can see the scar where I had it reattached last year after the big squat that I did. My hip gets a little buggy sometimes, but for the most part, my back was the most significant by far. I've strained triceps. I've done my pecs a few times, but luckily, the only surgery I've required has been the bicep repair, which was done last year. And of course, it was my last meet. And then I had to get a surgery following my last meet, of course. What else do we have? Yeah, but check out, you can read in Gift of Injury. I'm sorry, you can read in Back Mechanic and Ultimate Back about the differences between an open fissure and a disc herniation. They're different. Let's see. What other questions do we have? Yeah, injuries suck, but I wouldn't say that you should expect for your joints to wear out, but they're going to damage them some if you lift heavy enough. Just know that. So it's just one of those things. You play long enough, you're going to pay a bit. And some people, if they have the right genetics, the right training cycles, the right approach, the right form, they can lift for a very long time. There's some people that have been powerlifting for 35 or 40 years that are still competing right now. Someone like David Ricks, who's in his 60s now and he's still competing. It's incredible. I feel like my symptoms are reducing gradually, but in a semi-cyclical nature. It feels better and then gets worse again. Is this a natural progression, or am I slacking when feeling better? Yeah, it's not a natural progression to keep getting worse, for sure. It means that you're missing some stuff. So take a look at your spine hygiene, take a look at your program, your sitting, standing, walking. But if you'd like specifics, we need to do a consult to talk about what you're missing. And again, making sure you're executing the big three correctly, making sure you're getting on and off the floor with good form is shown in back mechanic. That's a big part. You don't want to get on the floor improperly, winding up your triggers, getting on and off the floor, do the big three, and then come out on the short end when you wanted to be putting dollars in your bank account. You're pulling dollars out, unfortunately. Should you properly brace your core while doing day-to-day activities, avoid micro movements in the back to avoid pain? If that is a pain trigger for you, yes, you should. Now, how much stiffness do you need? Just enough to, just enough to complete the task. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Just a little bit of stiffness, especially if you have micro movements. Stiffen some of those out and get rid of the pain. What other questions do we have? Instagram, what questions do we have? We had a lot of people on Instagram last week. Come on, not so many today, unfortunately. It's okay. Joey, what's up, man? Hope all is well. going to take another question or two, and I'm going to hop off of here. I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Brian. Just wanted to ask if you could give an example of how to do a top set in the off-season 1020 Live. Absolutely love the book. Thank you. Give an example of how to do a top set in the off-season. You work up to a top set under that RPE for the given day, and then that's it. You guys are making it more complicated than it should be. One top set, working up to that RPE. You can do another top set if you want to, and I outlined this in the frequently asked questions on the back of the book. I also go through it in the YouTube series that I have. It's 15 parts where I talk about the frequently asked questions. That's part 15 of the video, so check that out. But just work up to one top set on that given RPE for the day, or do two top sets and make it your own. It's only a guide for you to start. It's not what you have to follow. Advice on maintaining healthy shoulders. I have a few things on cervical and thoracic mobility in the YouTube page there in the videos. You can check that out. But doing rear delt work, doing the shoulder big three can help. But again, not pressing too much, but pressing enough. That's the key. I ran out of things to ask you. Let's see. Brian, I've heard as sciatic pain goes away over time, the pain moves up foot to calf, an example. Have I seen this? I have seen that before, but everyone's going to be a little bit different. Sometimes that leg pain can stay there for a long time, in the leg, down the foot. So it can move back up like that. Everyone's going to be a bit different. Some people only have back pain. Some people only have leg and nerve pain. Some people, unfortunately, like I did, have both. So everyone's going to be a bit different there. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone hopping on today. And I'll answer one more question on Instagram or YouTube. Everything is going well on my end. The babies are good. They're running around like crazy. Training's going well. We're picking that up. Stay on the lookout for more videos coming soon on YouTube and on Instagram. And my payment portal should be ready at any time on PowerX Strength CBD for you to grab your own CBD. So I appreciate everyone. We'll talk to you soon. All right.